Hello, my dear students. Myself, Dr. Pitambar Humne, founder Botany for You, and working as Associate Professor and Head Department of Botany, Dharampet MP Dev Memorial Science College, Nagpur, Maharashtra, India. I welcome you all in this online platform for the students of Life Sciences Botany for You. Friends, if you are new or not yet subscribed our YouTube channel, then kindly like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel Botany for You, and also press bell icon for the alerts of every lecture to be uploaded on different life sciences titles. If you want to associate with us through Telegram group, then the link is given in the description. Through that, you can join the Telegram group and also take the advantage of the literature in the PDF form, as well as the different career opportunities in life sciences in India and abroad. In this lecture series in plant physiology, earlier we have seen the 8 different topics and also one MCQ based lecture on diffusion, osmosis and imbibition. Today we'll take another, that is 9th lecture in this series of lectures in plant physiology, and that is transpiration. We know the transpiration is one of the most important topic in plant physiology, and it is the process of elimination of the water vapors from the plant body. So let's see today's topic, that is transpiration. As we know, in earlier classes we have seen the plant body is distinguished into the different parts, that is the root, stem and the leaves. The roots are responsible for the absorption of the water and the mineral, as well as to keep the plant body inside the soil, means to anchor the plant body. Stem is responsible for the translocation of the water as well as the organic food material, and the leaves are responsible to carry out the process of photosynthesis. In addition to that, here the transpiration or most of the transpiration is carried out by means of the leaves. So, as I said earlier, the transpiration is the process of elimination of water vapors or elimination of the water in the form of water vapors through the plant body or the different aerial parts of the body. So, as the leaves are dorsiventrally flat or even the isobilateral, they are producing the stomata on it. You might be knowing, in the dicot, the stomata are mostly present on the lower surface, and in case of the monocot, the stomata are present on both the surfaces. If the plant is dicot and having the floating leaves like the lotus, in such a cases the stomata are present on dorsal surface only. So there are some variations also, and through these stomata there is a release of water molecules in the form of water vapors, and such a type of the elimination of the water in the form of water vapor, that is known as the transpiration. With the help of bell jar, we can carry out this experiment in the laboratory also. We have to take one potted plant which is covered with the polythene or the bell jar, and after few hours, here the water which will be eliminated through the leaves or stomata, it will be deposited on the upper surface in the form of water droplets to the bell jar. This means that this elimination of the water from the leaves, that is nothing but the process of transpiration. Now, the different types of the transpiration, that is the kinds of transpiration. Means when the water is released from the plant body in the form of water vapors, it is eliminated through the different parts of the body. It is either eliminated through the stomata, which is known as the stomatal transpiration. And if we see the total amount of the water transpired by the plant, then the maximum amount of the water is transpired through the stomata, that is the stomatal transpiration. As we know, there is a presence of the cuticle to the outer side of the epidermis, which is made up of the cellulose microfibrils, and this cuticle is responsible to check the transpiration. But even though through the cuticle few amount of the water is lost, hardly as compared to the transpiration, maximum 10% of the transpiration is contributed by the cuticular transpiration. And such a type of the loss of the water from the cuticle, that is known as the peristomatal transpiration. And the third type, that is the lenticular transpiration. In case of the woody stems, here there are the presence of the lenticels, and these lenticels are also responsible to release the certain amount of the water vapors, and hence such a type of the transpiration through the lenticels, that is known as the lenticular transpiration. So here we have seen the on the leaves there are the stomata, and through the stomata there is a release of the water in the form of the water vapors, and these are the structure of the stomata that we will see again in the upcoming slides. So this is a stomatal transpiration. In addition to that, though it is released through the stomata, through the cuticle again there is a loss of some amount of the water, and that is known as the cuticular transpiration. And in a third type, that is in the case of the woody stems, there is a loss of the water in the form of the water vapors through the lenticels which are present on the woody stem, and that is known as the lenticular transpiration. In this chapter, we will focus on the stomatal transpiration, that how this transpiration is carried out through the stomata. Now, if you see the mechanism of the stomatal transpiration, it means that in earlier classes we have seen the absorption of the water and ascent of sap. And the ascent of sap or path of the water is through the xylem. It means that the water is transported to each and every part of the body through the xylem. So the cells which are present in the leaves, which are considered as a mesophyll cells, and these mesophyll cells can absorb the water from the xylem. So in such a cases, here the palisade tissue or spongy parenchyma, when becomes osmotically active, that is with the higher osmotic pressure or higher DPD. In such a cases, here they will absorb the water from the cell, that is the xylem tissue, and from these mesophyll cell later on this water which is absorbed from the xylem is released into the stomatal cavity in the form of vapor or the water vapors. So if this process will be the continuous, that is to release the water vapors in the stomatal cavity by the mesophills, automatically there will be the more or the higher vapor pressure in the stomatal cavity as compared to the vapor pressure to the outer atmosphere. So in this case, here the vapors from the stomatal cavity will be released outside the plant body through the stomata. and this is known as the stomatal transpiration. But at the same time, here if we see the structure of the stomata, for the release of water vapors there is need of the stomata open. So how these stomata get open, that we will see in this mechanism of the stomatal transpiration. So structurally the stomata are made up of the two cells or two specialized cell, and these cells are known as the guard cells. Guard cells are special type of the cells having their inner thick wall which is made up of cellulose or the cellulose microfibrils. So because of this, the inner wall is thick by the deposition of the cellulose microfibrils, and because of the absence of the cellulose microfibrils to the outer side it is thin, and hence the outer side of the guard cell is thin. Now in some cases the guard cells are directly encircled by the epidermal cell, or in some cases or in some species there are the specialized cells which are responsible to encircle the guard cells, and these are type of the specialized cell which are responsible to encircle the guard cell from outer side, and that is known as the subsidiary cells. So if you see this structure of the stomata, at that time these guard cells are responsible to absorb the water from surrounding cells, either from the epidermal cell or the subsidiary cells, because of the increase in the osmotic pressure or DPD of the guard cell. So when they will absorb the water from surrounding cells like the epidermal cells or the subsidiary cell, these cells becomes now turgid. So when they get turgid, at that time they are pulled away from each other and the stomatal pore get open. So this type of the condition usually carried out in daytime, and in the night time here the stomatal guard cells release the water to the surrounding cells like the subsidiary cell and the epidermal cell, and later on they becomes flaccid, and when they become flaccid here the stomata get closed. So it is not necessary that the every plant show the stomata open during the day, because when we will see the CAM plants, will see in the photosynthesis that the crassulacean acid metabolism. So in these plants during the day the stomata are closed, and during the night the stomata are open. So it is not necessary that only during the day the stomata are open and only during the night the stomata are closed. So this may be different in the different plants also. In some cases only the stomata are open during the morning time, in some cases the stomata are open only during the afternoon, and in some cases the stomata are open in the evening also. While in case of the CAM plants the stomata are permanently closed during the day and open only during the night. So how these stomata get open and close and what is the mechanism behind it, that we will see in the upcoming theory. So first theory, that is the starch sugar interconversion theory. Means there is a conversion of the starch into the sugar and the sugar converted into the starch. Now what is the difference in between these two? Because when we are talking about the starch, that starch is insoluble in the water, and as it is insoluble in the water it is osmotically inactive, so it do not affect the osmotic pressure. But at the same time if we see the sugar, then sugar is soluble in the water and hence it is osmotically active. So when there is a presence of the sugar in the guard cell, the osmotic pressure will increase, and when there will be the presence of the starch, there will be the decrease in the osmotic pressure. If the osmotic pressure will be high of the guard cell, it will absorb the water, then swell up, that is become turgid, and the stomata get open. But when there will be the presence of the starch, and in such cases the cell becomes osmotically inactive, it will not absorb the water, and hence the stomata remain closed. So we'll see here that during the daytime in the leaves, the respiration decreases and the photosynthesis increases. So because of the increase in the rate of the photosynthesis during the day, here the CO2 or the carbon dioxide is utilized. We know there is a utilization of the carbon dioxide during the process of the photosynthesis. And because of that, here the concentration of the carbon dioxide decreases, which leads to the increase the pH. That is, in guard cells there is a formation of the alkaline cell sap, and because of this, here the starch which is insoluble is converted into the soluble sugar. This soluble sugar is nothing but the glucose 1 phosphate, and later on this soluble sugar or the glucose 1 phosphate, and it is a concentration in the guard cell increases. It means that the osmotic pressure or the DPD will increases, or in other words we can say that here the water potential becomes more negative or increases. And in the same manner, here because of the increase in the osmotic pressure, there will be the end osmosis, that is the entry of the water from the subsidiary cells or from epidermal cell to the guard cells, and which result into the guard cell that will be the turgid. And we have seen earlier that when the guard cells become turgid, the stomata get open. So this is carried out during the daytime as per the starch sugar interconversion theory. But during the night time in the leaf, the respiration increases, and because of the absence of the light during the night, here the no photosynthesis. As the photosynthesis is not carried out but the respiration is carried out, here in the respiration there is a use of the oxygen and release of the carbon dioxide. This result into the increase in the concentration of the carbon dioxide in the guard cells. So the increase in the concentration of the guard cell is responsible to decrease the pH, which means that the cell sap becomes acidic. And because of this, here the sugar which is soluble and is present in the guard cells in the form of the glucose 1 phosphate, it is converted into insoluble starch. As we have seen earlier that the starch is osmotically inactive. As it is osmotically inactive, there will not be any effect on the osmotic pressure or the DPD or the water potential of the guard cells. And because of this, here as it is osmotic concentration of the guard cell will decrease, because the sugar which is osmotically active is converted into osmotically inactive component, that is the starch. So because of this, the osmotic pressure of the surrounding cell, that is the subsidiary cells as well as the epidermal cell, will be increased, and hence from the lower concentration to the higher concentration there will the transport of the water, that is the transport of the water from the guard cell to the subsidiary cell or the epidermal cell, that is the exosmosis. This result into the flaccid cells or the flaccid guard cells, and if the guard cells become flaccid or contract, automatically the stomata get closed. So in this way there is a hypothesis or the theory behind the opening and the closing of the stomata, that is the starch converted into the sugar, and sugar convert into the starch. When there is a presence of the sugar, the stomata become open, and when there is a starch, stomata get closed. But when we have to see the Stewart's experiment or the hypothesis, then in 1964 he said that the glucose 1-phosphate or the sugar, the soluble sugar, is not much more effective to increase the sufficient osmotic pressure or the DPD or the water potential, and he modified it in the form of that when there is a presence of starch in the guard cells and having the higher pH, here the glucose 1-phosphate converted into the glucose 6-phosphate in presence of the phosphoglucomatase, and later on this glucose 6-phosphate in presence of the phosphatase enzyme converts into the glucose and inorganic phosphate. Means instead of that, earlier we have seen the sugar in the form of the glucose 6-phosphate, now it is converted into the glucose and inorganic phosphate, and now the glucose and inorganic phosphate both are sufficiently able to increase the osmotic pressure of the guard cells, and during this process there is need of the ATP molecules also. So if there is a formation of the glucose and inorganic phosphate, the osmotic pressure of the guard cell increases, which result into the turgid cells of the guard cells or the stomata, which result into the opening of the stomata, that is stomata becomes open. And during the night again there is a formation of the glucose 1-phosphate, that this glucose later on again converted into the hexokinase plus ATP molecules, then glucose 1-phosphate, and at the lower pH again it is converted into the starch. And earlier we have seen that the starch is osmotically inactive, and hence when it will convert into the starch, the stomata will again closed. So in this way the starch sugar interconversion theory is slightly modified by the Stewart in 1964, as again the many workers said that there is not the presence of the sugar or not detected the sugar in the guard cells, though there are the presence of the chlorophyll or the chloroplast in the guard cell, they are inactive photosynthetically, and hence here again we have some other theory to show that the opening and closing of the stomata. This one is the next one theory, that is the ATP driven proton potassium ion exchange pump mechanism. Means here the proton and the potassium ion, they are exchanged with the guard cells. So, and this process is ATP dependent, that the energy is required for this exchange of these molecules or the ions. So first one here, the adjacent cells in which there is a presence of the potassium ion. So the guard cell pump the proton to the outer side, and in replacement of the potassium ions are taken inside the cell. When the potassium ion concentration increases, automatically again the chlorides are also absorbed by the cells and they are stored in the vacuoles. Because of this, here there is an increase in the osmotic pressure or the DPD, or the water potential becomes more negative. So it means that when there is an increase in the osmotic pressure or the DPD of the guard cell, it will ready to absorb the water from the surrounding cell. and these protons which are pumped to the outside guard cell comes from the malic acid. So here the carbon dioxide which is absorbed is converted into the malate ions, and at the same time from the starch which is converted into the phosphoenol pyruvic acid, there is release of the proton which are pumped to the outer side. And in this way, here when there is an increase in the osmotic pressure or the DPD, the stomata get closed. And if the reverse condition is carried out, that the protons are absorbed and the potassium ions are released from the cell, at that time again there is decrease in the osmotic pressure or the DPD of the guard cell, which result into the exosmosis, which result again into the closure of the stomata. And in this way there is a opening and closing of the stomata by proton exchange, that is the proton and the potassium ion exchange, and hence it is known as the proton potassium exchange pump mechanism. If we see the disappearance of the starch from the guard cells, so this means that there is not the presence of the starch in the guard cell when the stomata are open. Then the production of the organic acid, particularly the malic acid that we have seen. Then the excretion of the proton from the guard cells and uptake of the potassium into the vacuoles of the guard cell, which result into the absorption of the chloride ion and increase in the osmotic pressure and the DPT, which result into decrease in the water potential, means the cell is ready to absorb the water from the surrounding, that is the subsidiary cell and the epidermal cell. So it will absorb the water, become turgid, and the stomata get open. So in this way, in the reverse condition or the reverse process, the stomata will be closed. Now, what is actually the significance of the transpiration? Number one, that is the supposed role in the movement of the water. Earlier we have seen in the translocation of the water or the ascent of sap that even the translocation of the water depends on the transpiration. But it is said that the supposed role in the movement of the water, because in experiments, if we carried out that the leaves are coated with the paraffin wax, means the transpiration is checked. In such cases also there is a translocation of the water. So even we cannot say that only the transpiration is responsible for the movement of the water, but it is involved in the movement of the water. Then second one, that is the supposed role in the absorption and translocation of the mineral salts. It is earlier considered that the absorption of the salt is in association to that of the absorption of the water, but now it is considered that the absorption of the water and absorption of the mineral salt both are the independent from each other. So the water is absorbed by the one process and the minerals are absorbed by the another process. But after the absorption of these minerals, again as they are present in the cell sap and the water is moved because of the transpiration, again there is a possibility of the translocation of the minerals through the transpiration. Then third one, that is the supposed role in regulation of the temperature, as the plants are responsible for the absorption of the sunlight. Very few amount of the light is absorbed and rest of the light is reflected. So because of the reflection, there is an increase in the temperature of the plant body. So if there is a transpiration, that is the release of the water vapor from the stomata, again it helps in reducing the temperature of the plant body. So again this is one of the significance of the transpiration. But everywhere there is not the such a type of the condition that the transpiration is used to cool the plant body. Then next one, that is the transpiration as a necessary evil. Curtis in 1926 given this term that the transpiration is a necessary evil, because when the plants are growing in a soil having the scarcity of the water, then also there is a transpiration. It means that if there is already a scarcity of the water, then also if the transpiration is carried out, means it is unnecessary loss of the water, and even the excess amount of the energy is wasted because of the transpiration in absorption of the water. And hence, as the plants do not avoid the process of the transpiration, though it is harmful because it is wastage of the water, here the Kurt is considered this process of the transpiration as a necessary evil. Now, factors affecting stomatal movement. We have seen earlier that the stomatal movement is nothing but the opening and closing of the stomata. So first one, that is the light. Earlier we have seen that the stomata are open during the day and closed during the night. So it means that the light has certain stimulating factor to open the stomata, as only the light is not responsible, but because of the presence of the light there is a process of the photosynthesis, and because of the photosynthesis there is a reduction in the carbon dioxide concentration which help in opening the stomata during the day. So it has the positive effect on the opening of the stomata. Then carbon dioxide concentration. Earlier we have seen that during the day there is a decrease in the carbon dioxide concentration as it is used in the process of the photosynthesis, while during the night there is an increase in the carbon dioxide concentration. So when there is an decrease in the carbon dioxide concentration, here the stomata get open, and during the night when increase in the carbon dioxide concentration, the stomata get closed. So even practically if we increase the concentration of the carbon dioxide, then again the stomata get closer. Then the third one is a temperature. Usually below 1 degree Celsius and above 30 degree Celsius the stomata get closed, while the stomata are open in between this range, and hence we can say that the temperature is also one of the factor which is responsible to control the opening and closing of the stomata. Then the water deficit and ABA. Water deficit means what? If the plants growing in a scarcity of the water or it is water stressed condition. In such a condition, if there is a continuous movement of the water to the outer side through the process of the transpiration, so the plant will show a wilting, because already there is a water stress or absence of the water or less water in the soil. So because of the transpiration the maximum amount of the water will be lost, so the plant will show the wilting. So in such a condition, here there will be wilting, means what? Here there is a creation of the water deficit in the plant body, and if there is a creation of the water deficit, the stomata get closed. At the same time, when we have to see the presence of ABA, here there is a closer stomata or stomata get closed, and when the stomata get open, there is an decrease in the amount of ABA, or the ABA is found to be absent. Even it is experimentally proved, if the ABA is applied, the stomata get closed. So in this way, these are the different factors which are responsible to again control the stomatal movement, that is opening and closing of the stomata. And the factors affecting the rate of transpiration, means as this transpiration is carried out, how the different factors are interacting with the transpiration. Number first, that is the atmospheric humidity. Earlier we have seen when there is an increase in the vapor pressure in the stomatal cavity. So this increase in the vapor pressure in the stomatal cavity result into the release of the water vapors from stomatal cavity to outside. So it means that if there will be the less humidity in the atmosphere, there will be the more transpiration, and if the higher humidity, then automatically there will be the less transpiration. Again, the similar type, that the temperature, because when there is a high temperature, at that time there will be the less humidity, and if less humidity, more will be the rate of transpiration. So at higher temperature the rate of transpiration is more, and at a lower temperature the rate of transpiration is less. The wind, that is the blowing wind, if it is stagnant in the form of air, then there will be a normal process of the transpiration. If the speed of the wind increases, here the rate of the transpiration will also increases. But if the wind is blowing violently, it means that the speed of the wind is high. At that time there is a decrease in the rate of the transpiration. Say for example, even if we kept one of the plant which is cultivated in a pot, so if we have to use a fan, at that time here there will be the reduction or decrease in the rate of the transpiration. Then next one, that is the atmospheric pressure. Usually we have no any effect of the atmospheric pressure on the rate of the transpiration. Then the light, we know the light is responsible for opening and closing of the stomata. That when the light is present, the stomata get open, and when it is absent, the stomata get closed. So if the stomata are open, only then there is a possibility of the release of the water vapors from the stomatal cavity, and hence the light is responsible for the transpiration. But in absence of the light, here there is no transpiration or the stomatal transpiration, as there is a need to open the stomata for the release of the water vapors from the stomata to the outer side. Then available soil water. This is very much important, that if there is a presence of the sufficient amount of the soil water, then the rate of the respiration will be high. But at the same time, if the availability of the water is very less or the water stress condition, at that time here the rate of transpiration will also less or decreases, because when there is a creation of the water deficit in the plant body, the stomata get closed, and when the stomata get closed, automatically there will be the no transpiration through the stomata. And the last one, that is the carbon dioxide, that we have seen earlier, that the carbon dioxide concentration is playing an important role in opening and closing of the stomata. So during the day, as there is an decrease in the concentration of the carbon dioxide, the stomata get open, which result into the process of the transpiration. But when there is an increase in the concentration of the carbon dioxide during the night, the stomata get closed, and hence there will not be the transpiration. So if less concentration of the carbon dioxide, more will be the transpiration, and if there is an increase in the concentration, there will be no transpiration. So friends, I am very much confident and hopeful that this lecture will be useful to you in preparation of your examinations. Thank you very much for complete watching of this lecture. If you like this lecture, then kindly like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel Botany for You, and also press bell icon for the alerts of every lecture to be uploaded on different life sciences titles. Thanks a lot once again.